Hi everyone, my name is Miss Mellen. I'm the program coordinator here at the Baum School of Art in Allentown. Today I'm going to be doing a watercolor painting with you, inspired by Peter and the Wolf. Before we get started, let's go over the supplies that we have in our kit. You should have some white sulfite paper. This is just a flimsy paper that we'll use as our scrap paper. We can do our sketches and kind of get our ideas down before we do our final. For our final, we have a nice piece of watercolor paper, and it should have some painter's tape along the edges so that we'll have a nice border that we can peel off when we're ready. You should have a set of watercolors and an assortment of brushes. You should also have a water cup, and it's always handy to get some paper towels and keep those nearby. Make sure that you cover your work area that you're painting on. I usually use like newspaper or just extra paper. We have some brown paper at the school here that we use on desks, but anything to protect the surface that you're working on is fine. Now that we're sure that we have everything, we can go ahead and get started on sketching out our ideas.
So let's start by getting an idea down on our scrap paper. This is an optional step. If you feel like you know exactly what you want to paint, you are certainly welcome to go right to it. But I find that kind of thinking out and planning my painting beforehand can be helpful. So for this picture, I wanted to have kind of rolling hills. I'm imagining the scene where it says that Peter goes out into the big green meadow. So I'm sketching out my basic design. Here I want layers of hills, there's going to be the hint of trees, and a road that's going to lead backwards into the scene. Now again, this is just a sketch. So when I move on to my final, I want to first put down a watercolor wash, which is just a flat color. Start by getting the paper wet, then mixing up the color you want to use for your wash and adding that over the entire page. Once your wash is down, you want to let that dry completely before you go in and start doing the rest of your illustration. Now we are using a slightly darker version of the same color because this is a monotone painting, which is using one color. And I'm going to start by adding those really far off hills. So again, mix your color and put your farthest objects into your illustration. Now your final painting does not have to be exactly the same as your sketch, so you can see here I'm already changing it slightly with the way that my hills are rolling. And it is important to work a little bit quickly when you are using watercolors, only because you don't want them to dry, as it will interfere with how you can blend them. Now, when you move along, as I am right now, you want to make sure that the bottom layer is dry first. So every time you see me adding a new darker layer, I am doing it after the bottom layer has dried. But by building up our color this way, we can create a lot of depth in our image. I'm even going back in and adding trees farther along in the background to really give that feeling that we're looking through a forest. You can also add details to the background in the sky using a sun here and some clouds, again, keeping them a little bit lighter than anything that's close to the viewer. Finally, after everything's dry, I'm adding in a focal point, which is going to be this nice pine tree, again by making sure I'm using a dark color that will go over top of everything. And we're just about done. There we have it, our lovely layered watercolor scene. Now make sure your picture is dry before you take that tape off.
I really look forward to seeing all of the wonderful pieces that you guys create using all of these techniques. Have fun painting.